Hello everyone, Studio here, and welcome to the Bagel Nation. Today we are playing my all-time favorite game, Dark Souls. So this is the end of my character creation. This is all the details you may care about as far as how we're starting the game, and let's get to it. Now, first things first, this is post-commentary. I am recording this after playing, and that's for a couple reasons. First is that I will be dying a lot in this playthrough, and I want to edit out things that get repetitive. I'm going to leave in every death, however. And another reason that this is post-commentary is that I don't think I'm very good at live commentary in Dark Souls. But here we go, and we can see through here right at the beginning of the game the Stray Demon, who is a boss we get to fight later on. And here I'm just kind of messing around with the very first enemy that we get in the game. And as you just saw there are going to be some little cuts here and there that may seem nonsensical. Those are usually just me editing out menus or alt-tabbing or things like that. So Dark Souls, as I said, is my favorite game. It was, I think, the third game I bought after I purchased my Xbox. And for someone who had gone basically a few years without playing video games to almost immediately get into one of the most hardcore games there is, and a game that is notorious for being incredibly difficult and punishing, that was an interesting experience. And you can see up there the boss who is about to drop into the room. It's one of the lovely touches of this game. This game is so good. Just everything is so meticulously put together, and the world is so interconnected, and it feels so much like it belongs together, and it's just cohesive in a way that not every game, or even really many games, are. And everything is so deliberate in Dark Souls. Everything is clearly there for a reason, and that's kind of lost to some degree in the sequels. We haven't seen Dark Souls 3 yet, actually. And part of the reason I'm recording this and decided to make this project now and restart everything is because of the Dark Souls 3 announcement that we'll get Dark Souls. We'll get another Dark Souls game sometime early next year, hopefully. And I am incredibly excited for Dark Souls 3. I am on the hype train because, among other reasons, Mr. Miyazaki, the director of this game, the director of Bloodborne, the game that came after Dark Souls 2, and Demon Souls, the game that came before this one, is returning to direct. Let's listen in to the dialogue.
You're no hollow. Thank goodness. I'm done for, I'm afraid. I'll die soon, then lose my sanity. I wish to ask something of you. You and I are both undead. Hear me out, will you? Regrettably, I have failed in my mission, but perhaps you can keep the torch lit. There is an old saying in my family: thou who art undead art chosen, and thine exodus from the undead asylum maketh pilgrimage to the land of ancient lords. When thou ringeth the bell of awakening, the fate of the undead thou shalt know. Well, now you know, and I can die with hope in my heart. Oh, one more thing. Here, take this. An Estus flask, an undead favorite. Oh, and this. Now I must bid farewell. I would hate to harm you after death. So go now, and thank you.
So I have noticed that I am not alone in people who are starting new Dark Souls playthroughs on the internet, but hopefully I can provide something entertaining or insightful in my playthrough of this game. I guess I'm trying to prepare myself and anyone watching to die once more. Prepare to die, of course, is the tagline of Dark Souls, and prepare to die again, I think, is the tagline of Dark Souls 2. And here you see me, I'm trying to parry, and I've gotten very used to Dark Souls 2 parrying. And Dark Souls 2, for all the things that it improved on, one of the things I did not like was the change in the parrying. So you see, I swing my shield, like so, and if I do it right, if I time it right, there's a very small window in which I can essentially deflect the enemy's attack, and then I get to attack them critically in a riposte. And actually, those messages on the ground right there, you see those little orange things, and it tells me I could read a message. Those are, if I remember correctly, telling me how to parry and riposte, or riposte. And you see, once I figured it out, once I got the timing back down, I was good to go for the most part. In this game, it's more of a twitch. You gotta hit the button at just the right time. It's very reactionary. Whereas in Dark Souls 2, it's more anticipatory. And I'll get back to parries and ripostes in a second, but there you saw I did a jump attack, and then I did a drop attack immediately after. And this boss, if you jump attack, you can hit him at just the right time and then press, then you can do a falling attack, and so you can get 2 attacks in one fell swoop. Hopefully I explained that well enough. But as I was saying, parries in this game are more, you're kind of twitching, you're reacting right when the weapon's about to hit, whereas, especially with quicker weapons in Dark Souls 2, you're kind of having to predict when an attack is coming. So it's a lot harder for me and a lot of players. And on top of that, they made a lot more changes to the parry system that were, I guess, welcome. They were, at least on paper, many good ideas.
Only in the ancient
We'll watch this.
legends it is stated that one day an undead shall be chosen.
The feathers you see on screen there are procedurally generated. Those are different every time.
To leave the undead asylum in pilgrimage to the land of the ancient lords. Lordran.
So Lordran is our game world in this game, and this is our hub here, Firelink Shrine, where we can use this bonfire. And the bonfire mechanic in Dark Souls is used as a checkpoint, essentially. If you die, then you return to the last bonfire you rested at. And at bonfires, you can level up. There are a couple other things you can do. And later in the game, once you get a little over halfway through maybe, you get to start warping between select bonfires. In Dark Souls 2, you can warp between every single bonfire in the game from the beginning of the game. And so I just picked up a couple of items there, and now we're going to level up. And I think if I remember right, yeah, I get up to 12 dexterity. I get points in dexterity. And since I started with a pyromancy, since I started as a pyromancer, I have, you see on my right hand in the bottom left corner, you can see that I have a pyromancy hand equipped and the spell Fireball equipped, which means I can cast Fireball. Now, pyromancers are the only characters in the game, the only starting class in the game that starts at level 1. All the other classes start at different levels and have different stats started. So if you want to do a challenge run with a character at level 1, Pyromancer is the class with which to start. And I generally prefer having Pyromancy. Pyromancy, for me in Dark Souls, is my panic button, is my crutch. I like to play with it. Pyromancy, unlike sorcery, is you have fewer casts, you have much more limited casts, but it doesn't require stat investment. You don't have to invest your levels, invest your souls, which are also experience, which I'm sure we'll talk about tons. over the course of this video series. But pyromancy only requires you to have attunement, which lets you equip the spells. Whereas both faith and intelligence are used for the other types of casting in the game, but those require you to invest stats. So pyromancy can be used at level 1, which is nice. And right now we are going into the New Londo Ruins, which is a later game area, but because I know the game and because I've played it many times, I like to come this way to pick up the item that you see glowing up ahead, dodging ghosts who I can't attack, and yeah, I get through pretty nicely. And that's actually, I was really proud of myself for doing that after 3 or 4 months of basically no Dark Souls at all. A little bit of Dark Souls 2, but very different games in terms of feel. So the item that we just picked up is a Firekeeper's Soul, which allows us to upgrade our Estus Flask, which you see I have equipped. You can see that in the bottom left-hand corner. And that allows us to upgrade it to heal more health every time we use it. Estus Flasks are our main healing item in this game, and we refill our Estus Flask by resting at a bonfire. So bonfires are checkpoints, and they reset our Estus Flask, our healing item. So using a bonfire is often a risk-reward proposition. This is a vendor who sells sorceries and will upgrade our weapons if we give him the appropriate materials. And we may not actually come back to him in this playthrough at all. I was just checking to see, it's been a while so I didn't remember what he sold, seeing if there's anything we wanted to pick up. But now we are on to one of the hardest places you can get to from the beginning of the game, provided you pick the Master Key as your starting gift. And this is the Valley of the Drakes, which has some drakes, some dragon creatures. I'm not really sure what the distinction between drake and dragon is. I know dragons are bigger, at least in Dark Souls. I'm not sure too much of the finer distinctions there. But these drakes are some of the toughest enemies that you can find at this point in the game, and it doesn't help that they are in a very difficult environment to fight them. There's a lot of places you can just walk off the edge. This creature we're looking at is the undead dragon. Well, not the undead dragon. There are 2 of these in the game. I think just 2. And these undead dragons are a very good example of what makes the design of Dark Souls special. There's an interview with Miyazaki, the director, where he talks about the design of these undead dragons, and that his designers were coming up with just these gross and grotesque designs. And here we're just rolling past some drakes, which is a little bit more difficult than hopefully I make it look. I managed to get through here unscathed. But the undead dragon, Miyazaki chose to use this grossness, this kind of revolting quality about them, and we're using that to look into the pain of the undead dragon. We're looking at how difficult and how tormenting it is to be undead and to suffer from this curse that is being undead. And that's the kind of thing, that thought in the design is what makes Dark Souls so special, is a lot of why I love coming back to it. There are a lot of gross and dark and disturbing things in Dark Souls, but there usually is a purpose behind them. And even though it's very much a story of hopelessness and an environment of despair, there are little glimmers of beauty and humanity within the game, which is just why I keep coming back to it over and over. So this little maneuver is something I've picked up from watching speedrunners play Dark Souls. Speedrunners on Twitch are ridiculous in how quickly they can beat this game, and how effortlessly some of the hardest things of the game, how effortlessly they can do them. And I come up here to pick up the red tearstone ring, which is a key item to virtually every speedrun. So it's, again, this complex relationship between risk and reward. We can do ridiculous damage, and you can use that ring and some other techniques to... Some bosses you can kill in one hit, but you can't take a hit, so it's a very interesting and complex decision whether or not you want to use it. Most new players definitely won't want to use the red tearstone ring ever. But I like to use it more just incidentally than on purpose. Speedrunners will take damage on purpose to get to that threshold, whereas I usually use it when I get to low health. I say, okay, let me just do some extra damage, and we'll see where it goes. And you're going to see a lot of that here in just a minute. We're about to encounter our first Black Knight of the game, and these are some of the toughest enemies in Dark Souls, especially at the beginning. They are scattered throughout the world of Lordran, and I somehow managed on the first try to parry him. However, spoilers, he kills me. And actually, I do a really good job for not having fought any of these enemies in a while. And these halberd enemies, you see his weapon is the Black Knight halberd. And that is one of the harder weapons to parry, at least for me. The timing is very hard to get down. And I managed to parry him several times successfully. I think this is the 4th out of 5 attempts at a successful parry. And then, as you see here, things don't end so well for me. I parry him, great, but then I miss the riposte. I get out of position, and so then I try to, instead of just waiting and getting another parry, I poke him a couple times and give him time to kill me. So I mentioned that I am not going to edit out any deaths in this playthrough. And as you see, there is a lovely death counter telling you how many times I've died. And this guy gave me some trouble. I was really in the zone at first somehow, and then I done goofed. But this is actually pretty close to the end of our video. We've got about 1.5 minutes left. And I just want to thank you for watching, sticking it out this far. Hopefully this is a fun playthrough, fun experience. I'm going to kind of just talk like this about Dark Souls and why I think it's special. And we're going to just have a pretty basic playthrough, kind of how I like to play, just a casual run. I've done challenge runs. I've beat the game at level 1 a couple times. I've beat the game in New Game Plus at level 1. So I do lots of crazy stuff, like some of the challenge runners, such as Lobos Jr. on Twitch. I kind of do that kind of run for fun. But this is going to be more of just a casual run of Dark Souls, and this is where I finally do best this Black Knight. But hopefully these videos are all going to be 20 to 35 minutes. This one's a little shorter than that. But that's what I'm aiming for with this series, and I just want to kind of get my thoughts out of why I love Dark Souls so much with this playthrough. And now that we have killed him, I just want to say thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like down below. It makes me feel good. And if you want to chat, talk about this series, comment, and subscribe to see more of this playthrough and any of my other gaming content here on this channel. Again, thanks for watching, and enjoy your stay here in the Bagel Nation.